Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome, everyone. You're listening to the Dateable AF podcast because women dating women is wild, wonderful, and occasionally a disaster. I am your host, Dr. Sarah Kyle, a therapist in private practice.
And I'm a co-host, Rachel Howell, a researcher extraordinaire and a single lesbian dater.
All right. Today, we are going to be talking about flirting for people who hate flirting. We hear this so often that our friends just don't know how to flirt. They don't like flirting. They have wrong ideas about it.
And we're going to give you some tips on how to practice non-creepy flirting, as well as talking about flirting to get someone's attention versus seduction flirting.
Yes, absolutely. So, Rachel, why do you think flirting feels so awkward?
Well, there's the one is some people, it's just not in their nature. They just don't see themselves doing it. It just doesn't feel natural to them. The other is that I think people think about it more as a seductive thing than they do as a way to draw yourself towards somebody or draw somebody towards you in a non-seductive fashion, but in a conversational way, or just getting to I'm interested, you stand out in the crowd sort of way, and I would like to get to know you better.
Yeah, I think you hit something right on the head. And that's one of the things that we want to talk about today is that people sometimes misperceive flirting as I'm trying to get you into bed or I'm trying to have sex with you.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. If it's that, hopefully you've gone a little farther down the road with it.
Maybe so, maybe no. I don't know.
That's right. But we want to talk about the idea of flirting as just a way of making a connection with somebody.
Yeah, and I do think it is a hard conversation to pinpoint, because a lot of it is about helping people access their natural selves and then just taking that and enhancing it a bit, instead of them trying to do things that it's not in their nature.
Yes, exactly. If you are not somebody who is naturally flirtatious, then this whole thing could just feel awkward. Like, oh, what do I do with my hands? But we're going to try to help you like with some really concrete things. But the thing that you said, Rachel, is somebody using their natural gifts and their natural inclinations. Can you help me think of an example of that and what that might look like?
Well, I can give you an example of me, for instance, that I love music. And so what I like to do is share music in a lot of ways. And I will share music in friendship ways, and then I can share music in flirty ways. And that feels really easy for me.
And what would be the difference in what you might share with your friends versus what you might share with someone you're trying to flirt with?
Well, the music that I select. It's very, yes, there is.
Let's get it on.
It's all marketing. Let's get it on. A sexual healing. If you get that from me, I'm probably flirting with you.
Oh, yeah, I think let's get it on. Is that Barry White?
That may be Barry White.
That's game I have.
You're so out of game.
Apparently, it's been a minute.
Oh my God. Yes. The songs that I send can be very specific to what I'm interested in. And I will typically put that out there. Hey, that there may be words in the song that I'm trying to send you a fun, sexy message, or it may be simply, I know you like music and I like music, and I'm going to share music with you after I've talked to you as another way to connect with you.
got it. It kind of gives you common ground for the person to respond and say, oh my gosh, I love that song. Here's one that I want to send you. It bridges a gap in a natural way for you because music's your thing.
Right. And I mean, you love to write, and you like to write poetry, and
Bad poetry, I might add.
I assume that over the years you have used poetry as a way to flirt, and also as just a mechanism for your own personal enjoyment.
Yeah, that's true. It is something that I write for my own pleasure, and sometimes I'm inspired by someone and I write a poem to or about them. So sure, I could see if I were single and dating that would be something I might lead with.
What, and as audience is listening to us right now and they're thinking, I don't really do music, I don't really write, and they think, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's a great point. So what do you love to do? Do you love pickleball? Well, take a picture of yourself playing pickleball, or take a picture of a new paddle that you found. The idea is that you're trying to find common ground with someone and introducing things that you love or something that you know that they love. Hey, I know you love cheesecake, and I thought about you when I was at this restaurant last night, and take a picture of a cheesecake. I don't know. It doesn't have to be something that specific.
I think people really don't use conversation it's an advantage if you know how to use it appropriately. So if you're really interested in getting to know someone, then talking to them and really paying attention to what you're hearing and what they say is not only a great way to just show interest and be good in conversation, but it also gives you an open door to a possible flirt. In that, like you hear something and you think, I'm going to follow up with something I read or something that I come in contact with that I heard you talking about in our conversation, and you text them with it.
Yeah. And this is so good because it goes back to things that we've talked about in previous episodes. Paying attention is one of the key elements to successful dating. Paying attention to what someone says, to what they like, what they're interested in. And you don't have to be a writer, or you don't have to be a reader. You don't have to love music. If you see something on TV and you know this person loves pop culture, it doesn't have to be something super sophisticated, but it's just remembering something about them and making a connection with them around that.
And if you're at a party and there are a lot of people there, and you're walking around and you're trying to make small chit chat, if you're getting to know people, and I don't know if you can go back in the recesses of your mind, Sarah, back when you were actually in the dating piece.
It's been a minute.
But for me, if I'm in a room full of new people, then if I'm going to be gravitating towards somebody that I might be interested in, and I will turn small chit chat into something more.
Yes.
And I will also not stay there forever, but I will move about, but I'm going to constantly try to come back to that person to learn a little bit more about them. Whereas if I'm just having to do surfacey conversation throughout the evening, I'm probably not going to revisit the same person twice if I'm not interested in
getting into something
a little bit of her.
Yeah. And so, the generic chit chat, I don't think is a really great vehicle for getting to know someone better. But let's talk about even some things more basic than that. We all know that making eye contact is an important part of being a good communicator. How does flirting differ from what you might do if you're just being socially appropriate and making decent eye contact?
I was talking to my mother this morning.
Okay.
And she wanted to know what our episode was going to be about today.
Okay.
And I told her flirting, and she went, well, what are you going to tell them? And she said that you need to wink at somebody and make some,
right. So Mel didn't have any words of wisdom about flirting for us?
No, I said, Mom, that's exactly what we're going to tell them not to do, because somebody's going to think you're a freak, or they're going to think you have something in your eye. So don't be a freak with it. Don't wink at somebody with some weird, exaggerated look on your face.
Nope. That's not the ticket. With eye contact, I do think there's a moment where you would break eye contact if you were just being socially appropriate, and you might hold it just a fraction of a second longer if you were flirting with someone. If you saw someone across the room, you might, kind of smile at them. But if you wanted to flirt, you might sustain the eye contact just a bit and, still smile.
What do you think about looking at someone's lips?
Ooh, that's sexy. And do you lick yours in the process?
Seductive flirting.
Maybe raise your eyebrows a couple times.
I want to be clear with the audience that there is nothing wrong with seductive flirting. As a matter of fact, I would encourage it at an appropriate time. But if this is about flirting to connect and get to know someone, then
That's not the time to lick your lips.
No, but looking at lips can be sort of sexy.
But don't stare too long, because then they're going to think they have something in their teeth.
If you want to really mess with them, just go ahead and start.
Pick your tooth a little bit like they got something in theirs. That's a definite flirtatious move.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I agree though. Eye contact and just really having great eye contact is oftentimes rare, and that you're really listening to somebody, you're paying attention to them. That can be considered a very nice sort of flirty thing.
yes, for sure. And basic body language, these are things that probably most people know, but we'll say them anyway in case you're someone who feels super awkward about flirting, that leaning towards someone, orienting yourself towards someone. So if you're seated, you want to cross your legs toward them, not away from them. You want to keep your posture open, so don't cross your arms in front of your body, or even your hands. If you're holding your hands folded together in front of you, if you're standing, that's a closed off gesture. So just keep your arms relaxed and at your side. Tilting your head is another gesture. If you think about, your dog, when they hear a noise, they kind of cock their head. So tilting your head and nodding. So basically those body language things that are showing that you're open and interested.
What about touching somebody?
That, I think, goes back to your original comment about doing things that are natural to you. Some people are naturally touchy people, and that, if you are a naturally touchy person, that will be perceived as flirting often, even if you're not flirting. So just be careful with that one. If you are a naturally touchy person, know that it might be misperceived. And if it's something that you want to convey, then yes, absolutely reach out and just touch someone on the arm, or, obviously you want to read the room before you don't grope them.
That's a given. I would like to think that's a given, but maybe we should say it. I do think that is a natural. You need to really think about what feels comfortable to you. And I also read the person that I'm communicating with, and I can tell. I recently made friends with someone who I can tell is not comfortable with. She just doesn't want that kind of. I would naturally, even as a friend, I probably would hug her goodbye or hello. And I can tell that she's not, it's not her. And so I can tell that enough to know that I'm just not going in there, because that
Let's
would be.
dig a little deeper into that, because how do you know? What are your cues that she's not into that?
Intuitively, I can just tell she doesn't put off that warmth of inviting me in.
She's probably not leaning toward you. She's probably not leaning in. If you hug her, she might be just standing there stiffly, or
yeah, she's fairly stiff, and I don't know whether or not, I have never asked, but whether she's comfortable with that or not. But I'm not interested in dating that person. So I'm not really trying to flirt with her, but I'm making a point of really paying attention to people's body language, because if I am flirting with someone and I get the sense that we're really connecting, and like you said, they're leaning into me, I'm doing that, then if I'm going to say goodbye to them, I need to move on, or whatever we're going to do, I literally would put my hand out and probably touch their arm, and say, it was really nice talking to you, but that there would be some sort of physical contact that's very slight.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not feeling that, I am not going to put that out. I mean, I'm not going to try to make myself do it if it doesn't feel right.
Sure. And you get a sense typically. I was thinking about one time when my clients are leaving my office, I generally will just put my hand on their back and, tell them goodbye. And, just kind of as they're walking out the door, I'll kind of touch them on their back and say, see you next time. One time I had a client who, when she was walking out of my office, it was maybe the first session or within the first couple of sessions, and I put my hand on her back and she immediately turned around and said, I don't like it when you do that. I don't like to be touched.
That'll be our next session. We'll talk about that in our next session.
Yes, grist for the mill for therapy work. I was actually really proud of her for speaking up directly, though. But it's funny because that seems like such a benign gesture, but to someone that could be offensive. So to your point, just paying attention, is the person appreciating this, or are they kind of recoiling from it? If they're recoiling, I would cease the flirting immediately.
Well, I think that's why this conversation and this topic is complicated.
Yes.
Because you can't, if you pigeonhole, like, this is how I flirt, and this is the way I'm going to do it every single time, you are not, that's about you, and you're not paying attention to the other person.
Yes, this is not a one size fits all. You can't, you can't use the same tactics on everyone, for sure.
And it is very difficult if you don't have a good sense of yourself, of what that feels like for you.
Yes.
And so I think it, again, takes a lot of thought about how you approach it and how you approach someone. And I do wonder, honestly, I have a friend I know she wants to date, and I've never seen her flirt a moment in her life around anything. Her name is Monique. Yes, it's Monique. Oh, maybe it's Veronica.
One of those two, for sure. For those of you who don't know, all of our anonymous people on our podcast are named either Monique or Veronica. We have lots of those in our lives.
And I am really not sure, and I do put this as a great question for the audience, is maybe you think, I don't need to flirt. But if you're not dating and you want to date, then I ask you, how is it exactly that you plan to let someone know that you're interested in them if you don't have a little bit of flirt?
Yes, this is true. You have to figure out how to convey interest in a way that lets the person know, because I do remember I wasn't even in the dating bee. It was actually after Joe and I were pretty firmly together, and a friend of mine, or a friend acquaintance of mine, I should say, had contacted me about something, and she called to ask me out, to ask me to go to dinner. And I guess as a therapist, people do this a lot when they're having a problem. They want to reach out to their therapist friend and talk something over. So I just assumed she had something going on and she wanted to talk to me about it. Well, about halfway through the dinner, I said something about Joe. Maybe we were about to move in together or something. And she was so taken aback because she thought that we were having a date. And I literally had no idea. She had not conveyed in any way that she was flirting with me. I would never assume someone was asking me on a date. I would just assume it was a friend who wanted to talk about something. And so it made for a very awkward moment because she didn't convey that information up front.
I bet that was awkward. How did that go? What'd you do?
Well, I apologized. I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were asking me on a date. And then it was sort of awkward from there. And then when I got home and told Joe, Joe was like, I don't like her. And I think to this day, we don't run into this person very often, but I think if we ran into her to this day, Joe would probably have a little, bee in her bonnet about it.
I don't like her either, Joe. I don't even know if she's Monique or Veronica, which one she is, but I don't like.
Yeah, definitely Veronica. So yeah, that's an example of, man, you could put yourself and the other person in a very awkward situation if you don't clearly convey that you're flirting or that you're asking someone out.
The two of us have talked about this often. If you are a naturally curious person and that you own some of these basic skills anyway, and so these are things that you do even with people that you're just wanting to get to know or make friends with, and that you are a good conversationalist because you're truly interested in people, that sometimes that can be misconstrued on the other side.
Yes, they can think you're flirting when you're actually just being curious with them.
Yeah. So it's another thing to pay attention to, is that if you're beginning to get some feedback that isn't where you want it to go, maybe before they come over for dinner and after.
Okay, that's actually a good point too, because I'm thinking about a friend that you and I share. Her name's Monique. That we knew a period of time when she was in a relationship, and she would do some of these things that you're talking about. I know she would send poetry to someone, or she would send a song link to someone. And by all outside observation, one would think that that was flirtation. And I spoke to her about it, and she was literally what I call Scooby. She was like, huh? Scooby? Like, what? I'm not flirting. It's like, girl, you got to check yourself, because other people perceive when you send them a love poem that it is a flirtation. So you got to be careful about that sort of thing. So what are some things that might let someone know that you're not flirting with them?
I would say that first and foremost, if you're picking poetry, or when I pick music, that if you are sending stuff that has very romantic undertones or has a very sexy vibe to it, then that to me is only okay, and it is flirtatious, unless you and that person have talked about a common artist or somebody, and you've had a conversation where hey, I'm going to show you what I read about this person.
Yes.
I mean, otherwise, that's flirty. However you slice it, it's flirty. And you just have to own that. I think that you can send poetry, and I share music with my friends.
Yes.
And that is but that it's not flirty music. It is music because like one day, Sarah, you said to me, I need some new music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of what I'm listening to. And so yes, I'm going to send you some artists that I love.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you weren't trying to hit on me when you did that.
You didn't pick it up?
One of the things that I do, and I actually do this very naturally, I don't do it consciously, but I call people friend. I'll be like, hey, friend, how's your day going? If I was flirting with someone, I might say like, hey, hottie, how's your day going? Something like that, like the pet names that you might call someone, or the endearing language that you would use for someone. The other thing is that if you, like in your case, you're single, you would talk to someone about who you are dating or who you are interested in, whereas you wouldn't do that if you're flirting with someone. You would want them to know you were interested in them.
That's a great point. And I often do that.
Yes. So if you're out to dinner with someone who's just a friend, you're going to say like, oh, hey, I met this really great woman last night. If you're out with someone that you're interested in dating, you wouldn't be talking about other dates you had been on.
No, it's in bad and poor taste.
Yes, in poor taste. So,
and I do know some women do that, but you're probably not going to continue to get a second date if you do that.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Doesn't go over that well. What about using compliments as a form of flirtation?
That's a good one. And it's also, I think, dicey.
Okay, say more.
I think that complimenting somebody about, I feel like if you really see something, hey, I love your hair. Mm-hmm. So you got a new hairdo. Or you say, hey, where'd you get that top? I love that. Then that's a very sincere compliment. And even, I think you just have to be sincere about it. And then there is hey, I love the way you look in those shorts. That is more of a flirty compliment.
That's I'm complimenting you, not your shorts.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. I'm thinking about John Gottman if you don't know who he is, he's kind of the guru of couples therapy. He and his wife, Julie, have done tons and tons of couples research. And one of the things that they talk about in their work is called bids for connection. And what this is a statement that you make to someone, or a question that you ask someone that's not necessarily about what it seems on the surface. So I'll give you a benign example. If you're in the grocery line and the person next to you says, man, it sure is hot out there today. They're not trying to talk to you about the weather. They're trying to make a connection with you.
Mm.
And so I think compliments can be used in some ways as a bid for connection to say, oh, I love that shirt. Where'd you get that? Or that color, that's a fantastic color. Something like that that may or may not actually be about the shirt. You wouldn't want to say it if it was disingenuous, of course. If you hate the shirt, don't say that. but that might be your in to starting a conversation of, oh, hey, I got it at this store on South Congress. That's great. You should look at it. That sort of thing.
Yeah. That makes sense. I like that. And we also touched on humor.
Yes.
And that one is very tricky. If you are naturally good at humor and it's soft humor that's not sarcasm, then I think it's great. And I love people with a great sense of humor.
Yes.
And it's one of the things that I notice. When someone makes me laugh a lot, I love that. And I am immediately drawn to them.
Yes.
And I have also been around people who, when I first meet them, use this edgy humor that has a tinge of sarcasm to it. And I am very turned off by it.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I know this is something specific to me, but you can tell me how it comes across to you as a single person. When people play mean with each other, even if they're playing mean with their friends, I don't like that. I find that to be a turnoff. If you're going to make a joke about me, why would you joke about something that's mean-spirited? Why wouldn't you joke about, something great, like how smart I am or how strong I am or how hot I am or whatever? Please make all those jokes you want to. Why would you say something that's mean-spirited?
I think that the moment that I hear someone do that, to me, that's a self-confidence issue right there. It pops up to me as a red flag, a potential red flag that somebody who does that, they're lacking self-confidence.
Yes. They're using humor as a way to put someone else down. So other people might find that funny or attractive, but I personally, if you're saying something that's mean-spirited or that is tearing someone down, I'm not going to find that funny.
Yeah, I have a couple of examples of what I consider good humor, but they are also poking fun at me. And I think there's also this ability to be able to laugh at yourself. And so we'll just call her Veronica.
Okay.
Someone that, yes. And after early on, she had a wicked sense of humor, and it's great. And it's one of my favorite things about her. And some of the things that she would say to me when I would text her, if I didn't have my glasses on, or as I often do, misspell words and such, I would get a text back from her, and it would not address anything that I had asked. All it would say was, "Put your glasses on." I loved it. It cracked me up.
That is pretty funny. And that's not mean-spirited. That is just funny, like,
girl,
Mama, read your text before you send it.
Or, Mama, turn the ringer off on your phone on an airplane full of people.
Yes. That might be a little bit mean. I apologize.
Friends that dog you like that just because you're older.
Exactly. That's not an age-related thing. That's just a behavior-related thing. I'd still call you Ma'am if you had your ringer on all the time.
It is. I also do have a lot of contact with somebody that uses sarcasm a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I know them really well, and I've known them for years, and I still hate every minute of it.
Interesting. I don't know if this is too on the spot, but can you think of a way that sarcasm would get used, like an example of what would turn you off about that?
I think that when it's a response to something that you're having a conversation about, and it's, oh, thank goodness we never dated, because, thank God you got away from me fast and, before all that happened.
Oh yeah, that's totally mean-spirited.
You need to just go ahead and own that you're angry about something if that's where you are, but it is not flirty. And so if you're bringing anything into the conversation I just think sarcasm is very difficult to use in any form or fashion that feels good.
Yes. And that to me feels more like passive-aggressive behavior.
Yeah.
than even sarcasm. So sometimes, like, I don't know, I was trying to think of an example of sarcasm that, I don't know, maybe the
self-effacing sort of sarcasm. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Like, I would make a joke about myself, being really good at sports or something like that. That I'd be like, I'm gonna win this pickleball game I'm playing right now. Things like that. Like, that's a little sarcastic because clearly I'm not to win that game.
You did win. You won a medal.
I did. But I wouldn't make that joke about you. So,
right.
It would be mean-spirited if I made that sarcastic joke about you and vice versa. So don't be thinking about poking fun at my pickleball skills.
I would never be it from me.
So yes, using humor, I think, is a fun way to connect. Making someone laugh. Oh, that's, to me, there's really nothing sexier than someone who's smart and makes me laugh. So those are great things to use, but make sure you're doing that in a positive way.
I was thinking about this topic because I actually have somebody in my life that I adore, that I would not say that she flirts, although I don't think she would ever say she flirts, but she is so confident in bringing forward her big sexy brain that it feels like a flirt to me because I'm so drawn to it.
Yeah.
And that just the nature of who she is, and that's something to think about, is that maybe a lot of, if you have self-confidence, then whatever your natural instincts are, going with those can come across as being very appealing and flirty and sexy. And I want to lean into every conversation I'm having with her, and I love every moment of that. And I feel flirted with almost. And I don't think she would perceive it as that necessarily, but she loves me leaning in.
Yeah, she likes to engage. I mean, I will ask just the obvious question that you don't have to answer, but why are you not dating her? Sounds like your type.
Well,
we'll talk about that on another episode.
That's on the down low.
We're not allowed to speak about that, right?
It's not Monique or Veronica.
It's somebody different. Okay. When the real names start coming out, then we know we're in trouble.
No real names here, I can assure you.
We will get ourselves in trouble. Okay, so I want to shift gears for a minute and talk about flirting fails. Have you flirted in a way that was a failure? Has someone flirted with you in a way that was a failure? Or have you seen someone else flirting in a way that was a failure?
I am sure I've had some flirting fails, though I'm not aware of them because I probably somebody just walked away from me and they weren't interested in me, and I just assumed that that it was them and not me. But
of course, can't be me, must be you.
So I am sure that my conversation has probably didn't work with somebody.
Well, hold on. Now I need to backtrack. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I am recalling a flirting success that I witnessed with you. We were at a drag brunch. It was Joe and me and Rachel and some of our friends. And it was the middle of the day. We were on this rooftop and this drag performer came out. And I wish Joe was here to tell this story because Rachel immediately made a beeline eye contact for this person. And according to Joe, she started raising her eyebrows and kind of moving in a sexy way. And that drag performer came straight over to Rachel and gave her a lap dance.
Oh,
it was good. That was a success, a flirting success.
I was
bring that up.
Ooh, I was hitting on all cylinders.
Sure were.
I was that $20 bill I was holding.
Exactly. I'm sure that had nothing to do with it. And I might add that the drag performer was dressed like a tiger.
Oh, a tigress. She was a tigress, and it is on video somewhere, but we're going to keep that.
I'm going to post that in our show notes and link to the video. Oh, okay. But anyway, back to flirting fails. So you can't really recall any time that you have specifically tried to flirt with someone and it didn't go over. Is there a time that someone has tried to flirt with you and it didn't go over?
Yes. And It has been when someone is coming on too strong, too fast.
Okay.
And so that looks like them moving quickly from a flirt to connect to a flirt of seduction.
Mm-hmm.
So they are looking at me, and I can tell that what they're not listening to a word I'm saying, and they are thinking about what they're going to do to me if they can get my attention.
Well, do you want to say more about that?
I've actually called someone out on it and said, what are you thinking about right now has nothing to do with what I'm talking to you about.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, it can be fun, but I find it a little bit much. I like the flirting to get to know me. And then the flirting to seduction is great. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want that. I'm interested in that. And I think if you're dull and boring and you don't have some good flirting,
some kind of game or some kind of edge.
A game.
That's right.
Some kind of game that you're good at. But that's been my experience of or I've had somebody come at me and kind of be crass pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Talking about either their body or my body or some kind of crass comment about something. And I'm not good with that.
Yeah. Too much too soon. Yep. I agree with that. I think that that is a line that you don't want to cross too early. I have this thing, and I've read about it. It's not a technical mental health diagnosis, just so you know, but it is a thing.
It's made up. Dr. Sarah Kyle made it up, and it's going in the DSM.
Exactly. I have this vicarious cringiness or vicarious embarrassment that when someone does something cringy, I feel it so deeply, like in my bones, and I'm so cringy on their behalf. This happens if I'm watching TV or a movie or whatever. So when I see someone doing like awkward, cringy flirting, it is so painful for me. Whether that's, somebody maybe wearing clothing that's too revealing or something that just using their body language in a way that feels too over the top. So I would say, again, just pay attention, read the room, read your audience. And when you sense that someone's not leaning in, that's the time that you stop leaning in. That's time to pull back, because seeing someone just go overboard with it is very hard to watch.
It is. Well, one thing I don't know is, and I don't know if you're willing to reveal it, but what is or has been Joe's best flirt with you?
Joe, it's very interesting because I would say courting is more her specialty than flirting, because she's a very straightforward person. And so the flirting with getting to know each other was more just banter. We bantered a lot back and forth, and that was really fun. But once we started dating, her courting game is A+. She was on it. So she would plan amazing dates. Things that were out of the ordinary that would surprise me, not just, hey, let's go to dinner and a movie. She would plan these like really cool things. One time, as I might have mentioned here before, I'm not really that good at ball sports, but we went to this cliff over Lake Austin, and she brought golf balls and a golf club, and we hit golf balls for like the things that we wanted to get rid of, like things we wanted to let go of, which was really fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. So she would do things like that were really good courting. I would say on the flirtation side, when we very first met each other, I was more of the flirter than she was.
Can't say that I'm surprised, but okay.
I don't know why you would say that.
Go, Joe. That's
Joe.
cool. I love that. All right. Well, what should we leave our audience with so that they pull out the suggestions that we've given them for this kid?
I want to go back to where we started this podcast, and the very most important thing with flirting is to be authentic. Don't try to do something that is counterintuitive to who you are as a person. You want to pick things that come naturally for you, and you want to maybe push yourself outside your comfort zone just a little bit, but that doesn't mean doing something that's counterintuitive to who you are. But again, sustain the eye contact a little bit, or take a risk and send someone a song or a poem via text. But I think the main thing to remember is that flirting is about making a connection. Flirting is not a performance and it's not a seduction.
It's a very good thing to remember.
Yes. And as we always want to remind you, we want your feedback. We want to make Dateable AF your favorite podcast. So please send us your feedback, send us your questions. The best way to do that is to email us. Our email address is info@getdateable.com. Dateable is the word date and the word able. info@getdateable.com. Thank you for listening to the Dateable AF podcast, where we help you find your happy ending.
And remember, be bold, be kind, and for the love of queer dating, don't text your ex. Stay dateable
AF.